Welcome to Selling in the Motor Trade, in association with Automotive Management and symcotraining. This is the weekly podcast where we share best practice, tips, and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your dealership or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. And firstly, I want to say thank you for taking the time to tune in. Hi, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about digital inquiries, the email inquiry, and kick around a few ideas how to convert more of those people into deals. But before I get in that, I just want to say, hey, thank you for people who have left comments. Hey, please do us a favor. If you like this podcast, if you got some good ideas from it, please share it with your sales team. Share it with other people within your group. If you got a chance to leave a comment, I know it's a pain in the bum, but if you got a chance to do it, I really do appreciate it. Hey, but listen, let's talk about that remote inquiry, the digital inquiry. What about someone who's a long way away and they're inquiring about a new vehicle? You know what it's like, guys. You do all the hard work. You do the See It Now video or image console video. You spend all the time putting deals together to them. You're emailing through all the figures, and you know they're just going to buy from their local dealer. They're just going to beat their local dealer up. Here's a real quick idea for you. Now, I stole this one from a very good friend of mine, Mr. Pat Casey. And he said, hey, Simon, this is the way that myself and the team are dealing with that new inquiry from a long way away. He said, so many times when you get the inquiry from a long way away, my salespeople had a choice. Number one, they cut the guts out of the deal. They give it all away because they think, well, you know, it's a long shot anyway, but the only way we'll get the business is if we buy the business. But so often that price was just going back to local dealer get upset with us. The customer would end up doing a deal. And you know what? It's just the customer's going to win in that situation. Or this is what I used to do. I'd hear salespeople do this all the time. Okay, Mr. Customer, can you just tell me what sort of deal have you got from your local dealer? I'll see if I can beat it. But think that through. What are the chances the customer tells you the actual deal they got? Slim. Okay. Maybe they might tell you the truth, but are you inviting a lie? You are really, aren't you? So listen, let's kick around a couple ideas on that one. Firstly, what Pat and his team will do. Now, just to set the scene, Pat is based in Brisbane. They get lots of inquiries from the rest of Queensland. Okay, all over the state. Now, Queensland's a big old state. Okay, so the chance of someone driving that distance, actually, it's got to be a really good deal. So the way he deals with it is when someone says, well, I'm actually calling from Bowen, Mackay, Townsville, Cairns, wherever. Straight away, he'd say, wow, that's a long way away. Is your local dealer not looking after you? I'll repeat that. Hey, is your local dealer not looking after you? You get one or two reactions there. Reaction number one is, no, I'd never buy from my local dealer. Oh, I bought my last car from there. They never looked after me. The car was in the workshop more than I had it. I said, nope, never again. I want a new Nissan, but I'm not buying from there. Actually, you know, you've got a fighting chance. That's reaction number one. But reaction number two, some people say, well, you know, I'm just trying to keep them honest, trying to shop around, get the best deal I can. Then instead of asking the customer, well, what deal have you got? He turns it on its head and say, well, okay, Mr. Customer. Hey, Mrs. Customer, how much better than your local dealer would I have to be to get you to want to drive to Brisbane? I'll say that one again as well. Now, listen, how much better than your local dealer would I have to be to get you to want to drive to Brisbane? Now, guys, since I've tried that myself, the figure tends to be about £1,000, €1,000. Okay. Pat tells me in Australia, it's about $1,000. It's that magical figure, 1,000. Now, I know what you're thinking now. Hold on. We're selling Fiats. We don't have that margin in a car. I know, but hold on for a second. When the customer says, oh, you need to beat it by 1,000, tie them down with some sort of commitment. Okay, sir. So what you're telling me is if I could beat your local dealer by 1,000, you'd be happy to go ahead and secure that car. Yeah, of course I would. You see, the customer's thinking they're going to get $1,000 better deal. Then they'll go into, so you'd be happy to leave me a €1,000 on either a credit or debit card just to secure it. Happy to leave me $1,000 on either a credit or debit card just to secure that. Yeah, if you can do that, I'll do it. Great. Okay, so listen, what figures have you got from your local dealer? Perfect. Okay, and can you email that through to me? You see, all that approach is doing is it's stopping that lie to start with. Because in the past, when I've just said, hey, what deal are you getting from your local dealer? I'd invite the lie. And then when I'd say, well, great, would you do me a favor, just email those figures through to me and I'll see if we can beat it. You know what? So often I never heard from the customer again because the bloody figure was a lie. It was my fault because I invited the lie to start with. So guys, that's an approach you might try. I think it's going to work more for the new car customer than the used car customer. In fact, the further away someone is on that used car inquiry, you know, and I know that it's probably the hotter they are because that's the actual specification of the car they want. That's the one they found out is actually the one that's going to tick all the boxes that they're looking for. So guys, you might want to try that. Here's another one on the same approach. This comes from a man called Tom Stiles. And this is so old. I watched this when I was 17 years old on some videotapes. Now, if you're under 30, I believe it was even Betamax. Now, don't quote me on that, but it might even have been Betamax. But these old tapes, when I started in Tony Island, Holden, I was asked to go and listen to these videos all the time. And so it's an old one, but it still might work for you because never forget, you know what? The technology changes in a heartbeat, but human nature does not. So what Tom would do is when they get an inquiry from out of town, he'd turn around and say, just nice and build the rapport with people to start with. Okay. You got to find out why they're inquiring from so far away. Okay. But then he'd go straight into, wow, normally when someone's phoning me from that sort of distance, they're just going to keep their local dealer honest. Can't blame you. I'll be doing exactly the same thing. Is that what you're trying to achieve? You know, that again, he's getting the two reactions. Number one, no, I'd never buy from my local dealer. They never looked after me properly. I said, never again am I going to buy a Toyota from them. Or reaction two, yeah, I am actually just trying to keep them honest. Don't blame me. I'd be doing exactly the same thing. Listen, I'll tell you what I'll do. Tell me what sort of figures your local dealers put to you, and I'll tell you if you've got a really good deal. Again, that situation there, whatever figures the customer come up with, it's a, wow, that is a sensational deal. Hey, how much better am I going to have to be to your local dealer to get you want to drive to Coventry? It's a similar approach, but I think I'd probably prefer Pat Casey's approach nowadays. But anyway, try it, see how it works for you. But also, when we're talking about these digital inquiries, these email inquiries, listen, we all know that that's where the world has gone now. What is it? What, 2/3 inquiry is coming through from email or phone, a third walk-in, if you're lucky. Okay. Hey, that's even after the pandemic and the whole dealerships opened up. Yeah, of course, there was a rush of people coming through, but starting to slow down now. And also, let me ask you a cheeky question. What's going to be the hottest inquiry? Is it the walk-in inquiry, a telephone inquiry, or the email inquiry? What do you think? Are you saying walk-in? Possibly. I used to think that way. What about email? I don't know. What would you prefer to speak to, the walk-in inquiry or an email inquiry? Or what about the telephone inquiry? Actually, here's some more evidence for you. The hottest one out of those is probably not your walk-in now. Because the walk-in customer, you might still get people early on in the process. You might still get people want to have a look at the Mazda, the Toyota, the Nissan, because they're still early on in the process. Actually, the email inquiry, that's probably the second hottest out there, because actually it requires a little bit more work from the customer saying, hey, can you tell me, is that car available? If so, what's your best price? And so often people are doing that while they're sitting there watching Coronation Street on TV or something like that. In fact, years ago, people used to walk around our used cars on a Sunday afternoon when we were shut. They'd get the hit list of all the cars they're interested in. And then through the week, our job as salespeople was to take that telephone inquiry and make the appointment to try and get them to turn up through the week or maybe on a Saturday to buy the car. Okay. Hey, people are still doing that, but they're doing it digitally. Okay. They're sitting there with the iPad in their hand. They see a car they're interested in and say, oh, that's nice. Hey, can you tell me, is that car available? If so, what's your best price? However, we get two types of email inquiries. We get people who are right at the beginning of the gestation period, and those ones might require a little bit more work. They might still be in fantasy mode. They might still be into, oh, what car can I get? They're early on in that gestation period. Then you get people that know exactly what they want. I want a Mazda CX-5. It's got to be the sport. It's got to be in the soul red metallic, the crystal soul red metallic. Okay, it's got to have that particular tow bar on it. Hey, they're right at the end of the gestation period, and they're probably quicker to do a deal. But actually, you might get someone that's bored and walks into a dealership while their husband or wife's across the road at the other shop and they're killing time. You might get someone to fire off an email saying, hey, can you tell me what's the best deal you can do on that car? Because they're early on in the process and they might still be in fantasy land. But how sad would you have to be sitting there at home thinking, I'm bored at the moment. What am I going to do? I know. I'm going to phone a few car dealerships and ask them, is that car still available? If so, what's the best price? So actually, probably the hottest lead at the moment, arguably, is probably going to be that telephone inquiry. Now, don't take it the wrong way. I believe every single one of those you should deal with as in they're buying a car no matter what. Okay, don't prejudge. That's not what we're talking about. But emails. From the email inquiry, we want to get to speak to these people. We want to phone these people. We want to have some sort of conversation with these people. However, how many people are not giving us their phone number nowadays? Hey, listen, how many of your inquiries are coming in and they're saying, hey, can you tell me, is the car available? If so, what's your best price? And their phone number is 012-345-6789. Or they've changed a digit. You just can't get through to them. Actually, I heard the stat the other day from Alistair Carmichael. He runs Cool Drip in the UK. And he was saying something like 50% of customers and their inquiries, now don't quote me on that number, but I think it was roughly 50% are either not giving the correct phone number, okay, or just no phone number at all. Because you know what? People are just early on in the process. In fact, when we talk about some of these techniques going forward, I want you to remember the research I've talked about before from Google. Now, Google says that people passively look for a new car 18 months before they walk in, phone in, or email a dealership. Now, that shocked me, but it shouldn't do, because people are just passively looking, okay? And Google said during that period there, the average customer is going to 7 automotive websites. Now, they're not going to prices. They're not going to specifications. They're just looking at photos and or videos because they're early on in the process. But then you may remember that I said, and this is Google's research, Google says people then go into actively looking. And in the motor trade, it's 1.7 months or 6 or 7 weeks. Okay, but Google always wants to digitalize things. But in the 1.7 months before they walk in, phone in, or email a dealership, how many automotive websites does the average customer go to? Listen, last figure I seen, it was 27. No, it wasn't. It was 28. My apologies. 28 different automotive websites. Now, remember, they're not going to 28 different manufacturers. So often, they've already narrowed down to the 1 or 2 manufacturers they're interested in. That's when they're going to Auto Trader. They're going to Car Zone. They're going to We Buy a Car, get an idea what their car's worth. They're going to Car Finance 24/7, find out how much a month it's going to cost them. That's when they're going to insurance quotes. That's when they're going to your dealership's website, your competitor's dealership's website. They're deciding, looking at your Google reviews. They're looking at your Trustpilot surveys and seeing what people are actually saying about you. In fact, an hour's research, the average customer does 19 hours and 42 minutes of research before they walk in, phone in, or email you. Now, that shocked me, but you know what? It shouldn't do. Is it any different to what you and I have been doing in these lockdowns we're going through, when hopefully we're allowed to go on holidays as soon? Okay. Haven't you been doing a lot of research on where you can go on holidays when you're allowed to? What are we going to do when we can? You know what? What I caught my wife doing, and I say this, and it happened a while back, but it happened. Okay. We were going to Gran Canaria for 1 week of our life. I caught my wife on Google Street View, walking around the place we're going on holidays. I said, Em, what are you doing? Oh, you can't rely on the photos on Airbnb. I just want to have a look to see what it's like myself. Now, I thought she was mad because that was 1 week of our life. Okay. How long does someone own their car for? What's it, 2 to 4 years? And the average cost of 1 week in Gran Canaria, it's a big old difference to the price of a lot of the cars that we're selling. So if people do that much research on a holiday, of course, they're going to do that much research on that car. However, I've talked about that before. Let's go one stage further though. So many times you get the email right at the beginning of that 1.7 months when they're early on. So in fact, what I'm going to do is go through some of the word tracks that we deal with on our Selling in the Online World training program. Now, if you want a copy of these, just get in contact with me. The easiest way to get in contact with me is through LinkedIn. Just search for Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. If you're in the UK, you can call me. It's nice and easy. Here's my mobile number. It's +44 7949 240 550. Alternatively, listen, go find Symco Training's website. Contact us there and we'll make sure that we get some of these word tracks through to you. But here's one. So many times, okay, people get that email inquiry right at the beginning. The customers are standoffish because they're early on in the process. And they'll just ask, hey, can you tell me, is the car available? If so, what's your best price? And some of the responses we're hearing from salespeople out there are almost comical. Okay, here's some of the ones I've actually had part of our Selling in the Online World training program, which we've actually got from people. I love this one, my favorite one. Hey, is the car available? If so, what's your best price? He come back and said, good news is that car is still available. Now, if you have a serious interest in purchasing the car, please give me a call. Word for word, that was the email. Okay. Oh, here's another one. Okay. The car was up for 14,995. It is in euros, and there was a dealer in Dublin, franchise dealership. The actual email come back and said, cars available, can do for 14, finance available. Thanks. Start to finish, that was the email. Or we get hundreds of people saying, yeah, the good news is that car is available. If you'd like to give me a call, I'll be happy to run through the best price we can do. And in fact, so many times the responses that salespeople do, part of our course, is, yeah, the car's available. If you want the best price, call me. If you want to know what your car's worth, call me. If you want to know the best finance deal we can, call me. If you want to know more information on that car, call me. Listen, yeah, give me some idea what it's worth, call me. And what salespeople are saying is just call me, call me, call me. Now, don't get it wrong. Of course, we want to speak to the customer. It's when we speak to the customer, that's when you can actually get a chance to build rapport with these people. That's when you can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we work within a market, we don't create the market. In the internet world, if we're not on the front page of Auto Trader, we just don't get the inquiry and get people want to come and find us here in little old Galway. Okay. You want to have that conversation. But if you just say, call me, call me, call me, without a valid reason why the customer should call, it's going to fall on deaf ears. Or in fact, I tell you what, if a customer sent you one email, on average, they haven't just sent it to you. On average, they've sent it to 6 other dealers. And of course, that's an average again. You know, some people have only sent one email out. That means some people have sent 12 emails out while they're sitting down watching Coronation Street. And actually, the customer's probably got a barrage of email responses saying, yeah, call me, call me, call me, call me. So here's the first thing. When you get an email like that, the first one is, and this goes without saying, I'm sure you do it, speed of response is really, really important. Okay. There used to be this golden hour that all the manufacturers talk about. Guys, that's gone out the window now. You know, there's so many companies out there like Rapid Response, Call Drip, and other competitors out there. Through technology, they're getting to the customer within seconds now, within minutes. Okay. If you're not hitting that customer within 15 minutes, you're really missing the trick now. Now, I know some of you are thinking, hold on, is that achievable in the real world? You bet your bottom dollar it is. Okay. Again, compare it to a traditional sales process. If a customer walked into your business and inquired about the car, and you didn't go and greet the customer for the first 15 minutes, how would they feel? Okay. We live in a now world. People want information now. Okay. Listen, with this pandemic, it's taught people that you can get everything sooner. Amazon. Through the pandemic, how many times did the Amazon man turn up? I think it was almost daily because I got 2 teenage boys, and it never slowed down their shopping at all. They just did it all online. You go to Argos, you order something by, 10 o'clock in the morning, you get it on the same day. We live in a now world. People want information now, now, now. So 15 minutes, I think, is a bare minimum that you need to do. Oh, and also here's the evidence for that. We all live busy lives. Those people are sending that email response out in their lunch break. They're having a coffee break. That with their job, they might not be able to take that inquiry, that phone call, okay, when they get back and do the job. So if you don't get them within the first 15 minutes, actually the next best time is probably 24 hours after that, during that same window when they had a chance. So that's the first thing. You've got to get to people quickly. Second thing, I don't believe in these scripted approaches. I think customers can smell that scripted approach a mile away. In fact, this is no disrespect to See It Now, Image Console, Rapid Response. But when we do these mystery shopping exercises, I promise you so many times, I could almost off the top of my head remember here at insert name of dealership, XYZ dealership, we believe in first-class customer service. Therefore, rather through photographs, I've prepared a personal video of the car. It's an option if you see the car in more details. Once you've watched the video, please feel free to contact me. Now, guys, I'm doing that from memory because I hear that same response, or sorry, I read that same response. Guys, Rapid Response, a great product. Okay. However, please change the defaults. See It Now, sensational product. Please change the defaults to what email people are getting. Think it through. If the average customer is sent out 6 email requests and you're all using the standard template, people are getting 6 standard replies from people. Okay. Now, again, if you're working for a particular manufacturer where it's the law, you've got to use See It Now or Rapid Response. Guess what? They shop around to other manufacturers selling the same product. If you haven't changed that response, guess what? I've got a real issue with it. Also, we personally would like to personalize the response to the customer. Part of our Selling the Online World program, we take the 7 email responses that you get as salespeople day in, day out, and we make sure that the people have a response written for each of those 7 inquiries, how to deal with them. You know the ones: what's my car worth? Is the car available? What's your best price? What finance deals can you? It's the same responses you're getting all the time. Now, we don't want the salespeople then to just cut and paste them and use them all the time, but we like them to have a response. They know how to deal with that inquiry, and then they can personalize it on top of it. So speed, number 1, get through to people really quickly. Okay. Number 2, personalize these responses. Every single time, personalize it, personalize it. Now, if you want a copy of these responses, as I said, contact us. I'll get them through to you, but they won't be personalized. Okay. I really urge you to sit down with each individual salesperson, as we do on the Selling the Online World program, and get them to make it sound like them. Get them to understand the response. But let me give you a few examples. The toughest one: can you give me an idea what my car's worth? How are we going to deal with that? Number 1, you just give them an idea what their car's worth. Do you ever hear from that customer again? Maybe, if they like it, maybe not. Number 2, you turn around and say, listen, if you want an idea what your car's worth, you really need to call me. We know that doesn't work anyway. You've tried it, okay? It just doesn't. Number 3, or actually, if you go to our website, we've got a little button. You can click on that and it'll give you an idea what your car's worth. Number 4, your dealership might be proactive and you've got an app where you can send through the customer an app where the customer takes photographs of their cars and get some details on it. Brilliant. But once the customer uses the app and they get their price, do you hear from that customer again? Or do we do something like this? Now, personalize it, personalize it, personalize it. Always thank the customer for the inquiry on that car. If it's that used car, tell them a little bit about what you know or where the car's come from. Now, don't lie, okay, if you don't know, but if you know, hey, listen, that car's a great car. I bought it from trade-in myself from a lovely couple who are immigrating to Canada. That's why the mileage on the car is just 16,332 kilometers. Okay. I love it in that particular iridescent snowflake color. Personalize it. Now, with regards to your price, the trouble with pricing a car without seeing it, it's always going to be a guess. Now, I'm going to end up guessing too high, or I'm going to end up guessing too low. If I guess too high, you're going to be unhappy with me when I can't give you that figure when we see the car. If I guess too low, we're probably never going to meet each other again. What I prefer to do is not guess at all, but have a look exactly what we can do on your car. So would you be able to give me a call while walking around your car? That way I'll be able to get a more detailed description to get you the very best price on it. Hey, listen, when's a good time to arrange a Zoom appointment? Or when's a good time to arrange a WhatsApp appointment so you could show me around your car? Or when's a good time for me to arrange a phone call so my sales manager is available to get you the very best price? So we're still going to say call me, but you see how we're just trying to give them a logical reason why any price might be a guess. But you might add this into it. If you're in the UK, okay, now Australian, Canadian dealers and Ireland, you won't be able to use this. But in the UK, we add into, hey, if you want a rough idea, there are plenty of websites like We Buy a Car who give you a ballpark figure. Now, we're normally a touch higher because they always knock the price down when you go to their drop-in centers. I don't work that way. Now, if you're in the UK, you might be thinking, hold on, Simon, why are you sending customers to We Buy a Car? I'll tell you why. They've already been there anyway. Some figures I heard recently, 89% of people in a franchise dealership have got a car to part exchange or trade in. That's in a franchise dealership. I also heard that 89% of customers have been to We Buy a Car in the UK. Of course they have, okay? You think that's true? If people are doing 19 hours and 42 minutes of research online, what chance have they not come across an advert for We Buy a Car on Google? You know, Google ads. What chance have they got not been bombarded with adverts they've listened to on TV and radio where, who was it? Phil Spencer, is it? Turns around and says, hey, we value your car in 30 seconds. Then you can go back to patting the dog or whatever you're doing. They've seen that. So actually, if 89% of people have got a car to trade in and 89% of people have been to We Buy a Car, I almost think 100% of the customers have been to We Buy a Car if they've got a trade in. So let's not stick our head in the sand and pretend they don't exist. Just tell people, hey, if you want a rough idea, there are plenty of websites like We Buy a Car. Now, we're normally a touch higher because they always knock the price down when you go to their drop-in centers. I don't work that way. Or by the way, here's another little one on We Buy a Car. The evolution of We Buy a Car started with Noel and Darren from Carcraft many years ago. Genius idea, so simple, but hey, listen, hasn't that done well for them? Now, clearly owned by BCA, part of the same company now. Lots of people go there, but part of the evolution, years ago, people used to be able to go and get the splat car on We Buy a Car and fill in all the damage on what was on their vehicle. In fact, I heard that when We Buy a Car first started, the salespeople were paid £10 for every £100 they could save off the price. So the whole business model was giving people a higher price. People think, wow, that sounds good. They'd go to the drop-in center, and then the salesperson would turn around and say, you didn't tell me about the alloy wheels. There's a scrape down the side. There's that there. So instead of the $5,000 for your car, actually, I'll only be able to offer you $4,200. Of course, the salespeople were getting paid 10% or whatever they could save. Now, I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe trading standards stopped that commission structure. I think they even got fined over this many, many years ago because the price they're telling the customer they could do, their commission structure was for them not to do that. And I believe they may have got fined under Bogus Advertising Act or something like that. Maybe someone could tell me and let me know what the actual happened there. So for many, many years, the price that We Buy a Car was very, very accurate. I think it was somewhere in between cap average and cap poor. So actually, we could, in a dealing situation, say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, maybe I'm wrong. Let's go and compare with We Buy a Car and get a third-party idea on what the car was worth. But what We Buy a Car now do is only ask for 4 pieces of information till the customer gets the price. That's the registration number, number of owners of the car, the mileage, and service history. So people do those 4 pieces of information, and then bang, out pops the price at $17,900. And I think lots of people just read that 17,900 and think, wow, that's good. Oh, I like that. But you go and have a look next time on We Buy a Car. It then says in fine print, we have based this price on a few assumptions. If you want a more accurate figure before you turn up for the appointment, click here and we can get a more accurate appraisal. Then you go into the full splat car where the customer can tell people about the alloy wheels we used as parking sensors. They can say the tires are actually like racing slicks. There's a big scrape down the side of it. It's only then the customer gets to put all the reconditioning costs in. But I don't think most customers do that. They just put in the 4 pieces of information. It outspits the 17,000 odd and think, wow, that's good. And then that's in their head. So the next time someone says, hey, I've been to We Buy a Car and they've offered me a lot better price, you might just go into, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, when you say you've been to We Buy a Car, have you been to their website or their drop-in center? You know what? So many times it's just their website. And then you say, you know what? A lot of my customers notice that the price they're getting from the website was vastly different when they went into their drop-in center. There's another button where you have to click on it to get a more detailed description of your car. And when you go to the drop-in center, actually, without doing that, they might chisel that price back. Hey, let's go and have a look now. So just control that. Now, if you listen to this in Ireland, thank you for listening to me drone on about We Buy a Car or Canada or in the States there. But that's just something for the UK dealers there. But that first one, what's my car worth? We're just trying to give the people the reasons why they should actually go to the phone call. Now, if they say, yep, that sounds good, can you please give me a call on 4 o'clock? Okay. Oh, by the way, if your dealer group, if your manufacturer has got a Value My Car app or some sort of widget where they can get some details, I would still use a similar line like, hey, if you want a rough idea, listen, you could actually go here, but tell you what, that'll give you just a ballpark figure. We normally touch higher than that when I can get the best description, because any price without seeing it may be conservative. I just want to stroke the customer's greed gene to go from a digital inquiry into some sort of phone conversation where I can build rapport with people. Now, in that first response, if people come back and say, yep, can you give me a call at 4 o'clock this afternoon? Okay. We'll have a second email. We're going to say, thank you for confirming that time of 4 o'clock this afternoon. Okay. Just so I can do a bit of homework in your car before we have that conversation at 4 o'clock. Okay. Can you actually give me the postcode of where the car's registered to? This will help me just do a bit of homework. Also, if you can have the following items to hand, it really will help. Okay. Your service history and your next service when that's due, and if it is fully paid for. Your MOT or NCT certificate or roadworthy certificate, and when the next one is due. Your paint and fabric protection certificate, your spare keys for the vehicle, okay? And notice how I'm giving the customers a list of work they'll want them to go and do. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, hold on, Simon, you get the customer to do too much work, they're not going to do it. There's a danger of that. But actually, it's part of qualification for me, okay? If people want to get a price, they will go and do all those bits and pieces. But also, each one of those things I'm asking, I'm doing it for either creating some urgency or maybe a hook for one of my bolt-on products. So let me explain some of what we're trying there, okay? Your postcode of where the car's registered to. What I'm really looking for is if they're local or not. Because if they're local, the rest of this is going to go out the window. I'm going to say, hey, listen, I notice you're local. Best thing's probably just to have a look at the vehicle. When's a good time to do that? Later on this afternoon or maybe tomorrow morning, okay? So that's what I'm really looking for that. But the next one, when we're asking for their service history or their next service, and if it's paid for, that might be a hook for a service plan if you're selling a service plan, but also it's some natural urgency. Do you think some people might be changing their car before that big service comes up or a big bill they go spend on it? Of course they will. So let's get them to think about that. Next one, your NCT test date or MOT, when your MOT is due. Now with that, once we're having the conversation with the customer on the phone, we can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, when is your MOT due? Oh, next month. Great. Okay. Is there anything you don't think will pass on that next MOT? Now, outwardly, everyone say, no, it'll sail through. But in their mind, the customer might be thinking, uh-oh, what about those last advisories? What about that chip in the windscreen? I don't know if that'll get through or not. Okay, so that's why we might do something like that. Oh, the next one, your paint and fabric protection certificate. Trust me, guys, if you put something like that in there, customers will come back and say, hey, what's a paint and fabric protection certificate? It gives you a chance to say, hey, do me a favor, just check your paperwork. It's a shame if you haven't got that, because my boss, valuing the car without seeing it, he's normally a little bit happier. He normally pays a touch extra if you've got that paint and fabric protection certificate, just because he knows any scuffs and marks in the upholstery tend to come straight back out. And by the way, every manufacturer in Europe recommends some sort of paint and fabric protection nowadays, because cars are all painted in water-based paints, not mineral-based paints. So it might be just a hook for your SuperGuard, your Diamond Bright, your Life Shine, Guard X, or whatever product you're selling down the track. If we can get customers thinking, hold on, maybe I should have had that last time, when you're talking about it next time, you may have teed it up to make it an easier sale for you. Your current guaranteed minimum future value. Not do you owe any finance on the car, but hey, what is your guaranteed minimum future value? Or when is your guaranteed minimum future value due? Just assume the customers are on a PCP. Again, if you're in Australia, I know the Australian market's not huge into PCP at the moment. I believe Toyota is really starting to push it, but the other countries working with, just assume they're on a PCP to start with. Okay, and get them to spare keys. That's straightforward. Oh, and by the way, what's the best phone number to contact you on? And we tend to add that down the end. Now, again, if you want a copy of some of these formats, okay, we'll email them through to you, get in contact. We'll make sure you get a copy of them there. And there's more of an explanation of why we do it there. But that's the first one for what's my car worth. One of the hardest ones. Next one. Hey, listen, is the car available? And if so, what's your best price? Now, I want you to think this through. If you're working in a franchise dealership, we said before that 89% of customers have got a car to trade in. That's 89%. So actually, the best price is always going to be the best balance to change. So what we really need to do is we probably need to find out about their car. Now, you've got an option here. If you just turn around and reply to the customer and say, oh, do you have a car to trade in? Do you have a car that you're looking to part exchange? On an email response, we still get lots of people saying, oh, no, leave that out at this stage. Just what's your best price? You go through the best price and they turn up. You cut the guts out of you, okay? You've done a balls out deal. And then they say, oh, by the way, what would you give me for this car? And your heart sinks because you know the car's what, 7 months old, okay? They bought it 7 months ago, paid full money for it, and you know digging them out of that car is going to be hard work, and you're in a funny place called fucked. So don't ask, do you have a car to trade in? Try something like this. So never forget, with what's your best price or any of these email responses, personalize it, personalize it, personalize it. Okay. And never use any of these words for word. You'll just sound like a cheesy Aussie, okay, who's lived in the UK for half his life now. But something along the lines of, hey, thank you very much for inquiring that car. That car's in great condition. I bought in for part exchange myself for a lovely couple who are upsizing or downsizing. Now, getting the price right is the easiest part of my job, just because we're part of the Swans Way group. Rob, can you just stop that there? Because I used a group I'm not allowed to say, okay? So we'll take it from when I paused it and we'll go there. And sorry, Emma and Rob for this one, okay? So remember, guys, when you're dealing with any of these email responses, personalize it, personalize it, personalize it. And thank the customer for the inquiry. Something along the lines of, hey, that car's in great condition. I drove it down the petrol station the other day to put petrol in it. I was so impressed with the specification on it and how well the car drives. Now, getting the price right is the easiest part of my job, just because we're part of the XYZ group. And we're one of the biggest internet retailers in the Toyota network. Now, we price match our cars competitively because we have to. We're not located in a major city. We just need to do that to entice customers through the door. Now, the best price is always going to be the amount of money coming out of your pocket. So what we need to do is get the details about the car you're looking to trade in, just so we can get the best balance to change and monthly payments. Hey, can I have the registration number of the car you're looking to trade in, please? See how we've just assumed, or used the assumptive approach, that they've got a car to trade in. So the real key for me on that one is, hey, the best price is always going to be the amount of money coming out of your pocket. So what we need to do is get the details about the car you're looking to trade in, so we can get the best balance to change and monthly payments. Wait for a customer to come back and say to you, no, I haven't got a car to trade in, before you try and deal with what's the best price. Okay. Now, also, you might add to that in the internet world, we have to be very competitive. If we're not on the front page of Auto Trader, we just don't get the inquiry. I'm sure you know that used car is very competitively priced to start with. I love, if you're not in the major city, we need to price our cars competitively because we're not in the middle of a major city. We just need to do that to entice customers through the door. Now, if you're in Dublin, a big old city, you might say, hey, we have to price our cars competitively because we're located in the middle of Dublin. There's just a lot more competition here, and that's why we have to be competitive. So with that one there, you're getting the customer to engage with you. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Hold on then. What if they come back and say, no, I haven't got a part exchange. What's your best price? Now, this one here, let's think that through. You've got a few options. I reckon 4 or 5 different options. Let's say the price of the car is up for, I don't know, $16,995. It's that used iGo. Okay. Here's some of the options. Number one, you say, hey, listen, it's up for $16,995. That is our best price. Do we ever hear from that customer again? Maybe, if it's the cheapest one in the world. But you want to get some sort of engagement from these people. Option number 2, you say, hey, it's up for $16,995. What were you hoping to pay for it? Guys, with that one, you're inviting the customer to kick you in the soft bits. You know they're going to come back and say 15 or 14, and then you're in a funny place called fucked again. Option 3, you give them the deal. It's up for $16,995, but I tell you what, I'll do that for $16,800. They've got their price and they're going to keep shopping around. Or you turn around and say, well, it's $16,995. If you want the best price, you need to call me. They may or may not. Depends on what else they can find with the 6 other emails. Or you try something like this. Personalize it and thank people for the inquiry. Hey, thank you very much for inquiring on that car. That car's in great condition. I bought in from a lovely couple who are upsizing, downsizing, immigrating to Canada. Now, we're one of the biggest internet dealers in the Toyota network. And we just don't get that way by getting the figures wrong. In fact, we're one of the biggest Toyota dealers in Ireland. Now, we price match the cars daily to ensure we're very competitive. Just because we're not located in a major city, we need to do that to entice customers through the door. Now, I'm sure you know that car's very attractively priced. However, there might be a goodwill gesture of a little bit of room to move. Realistically, what we hope to spend on a 2019 iGo that's got the X, the Y, the Z on it, what, 16.9, 16.8, something like that? I know some of you guys are sitting there thinking, well, hold on, you're negotiating with someone that you don't know who they are, Simon. Oh, I'm not happy with that. And fine, if you're a salesperson listening to this, please bear in mind you're working for your manager, not working for me. But I'd also argue that I'm not negotiating with someone I don't know. I'm just looking for engagement. I'm saying, hey, if I just say, what were you hoping to spend on it? They're going to kick me in the soft bits. But I say, hey, listen, I'm sure you know the car's very attractively priced. So psychologically, don't give me a silly figure. However, there might be a goodwill gesture of a little bit of room to move. So don't give me a silly figure. Realistically, so don't give me a silly figure. What we hope to spend on a 2020 Toyota iGo top of the range model that's got the X, the Y, the Z, what, 16.9, 16.8, something like that. I want customers to come back and go, no, I wouldn't want to spend more than 16 on it. They're going to engage with you. And when they come back with that, then we're going to go into your next email. Hey, listen, if we could agree the figures on that car, we're going to require £1,000 on either credit or debit card. Now, I'm not allowed to take that online. So listen, what's the best phone number to contact you on so I can secure that car? See, I want people to think of, wow, I'm going to get that for 16. I wanted to say, yeah, give me a call on this number, or they call you. And then when you're on the phone, that's when you can turn around and say, hey, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, for the inquiry on that iGo. That car's in great condition. I bought it from a lovely couple who are actually just upsizing, downsizing. Now, listen, I've had a look online. I'm sure you know that car's very attractively priced, and we work within a market. We don't create the market. So listen, that 16,000 for that particular iGo with that specification is just not going to be feasible. How flexible can you be? Now, that's the sort of conversation you can have over the phone. That's when you got a chance to build rapport with the customer. I find it very hard to build rapport typing. So whilst it might look like I'm negotiating with someone, I'm wanting engagement with someone, because once I've got engagement, they want to pick up the phone. That way I can take them to the next level. Now we got to be smart though. Okay. If someone's offer is miles away, okay, you're not going to say, if we could agree those figures. So here's the scenario. The car's up for 16,995. And they say, yeah, I'll pay you 12. If you say, if we could agree the figures on that car, we're going to require $1,000 on either credit or debit card, you might raise the customer's expectation up. I'm going to get this for $12,000. It's up for 16,995. Wow, that's brilliant. And when you get on the phone, you're just going to deflate the customer far too much. So what I would do is, if you are that far away, I'm going to turn around straight on an email response. Say, hey, thank you very much for your offer on that car. I'm sure you know that's a cheeky price on that. And unfortunately, that price is just not going to be feasible for a 2019 IGO that's got the X, the Y, the Z on it. Hey, how flexible can you be? And guys, that one there, that customer gives you that stupid figure. They might have sent the email right at the beginning of that 1.7 months. They might still be in fantasy land. They might not realize that we work within a market. We don't create the market. They might not realize they haven't done all their research yet. So with those ones there, you probably won't hear from them again. But if you only learn one thing from this podcast, take this one. I promise you, managers, dealers, forward this to your salespeople. I promise you, you'll get one sale from this a month if you do it to all of your customers who have gone dead. And these are the ones. I want you to forward it into your salespeople's diary for 4 to 5 weeks down the track, after the customer has ghosted you. Okay. In fact, this is any customer. You've done all the hard work. You've done the See It Now video. You've gotten all the figures together with them over 2, 3, and 4 years, with and without guaranteed minimum future values. You can contract hire, PCP, HP. Your salesperson's done all the hard work, and then they've ghosted you. Okay. And you think, what's happened? Forward them in the diary for 4 weeks, and then send one final sweep up email. Now, this sweep up email was written by our sales director, Mr. Darren Bedford. And I think it's a bit of genius, because I tell you what, managers listen to this. I'm a salesperson, and I don't think salespeople are lazy. In fact, don't get me on that one. I have lots of people say, oh, salespeople are lazy. Yeah, I get why you might think that. And you might have some lazy salespeople, but I don't believe anyone signs up for a job with the hours that we work in the motor trade who's naturally lazy. I think when this gets forwarded to a few weeks down the track, the salesperson can't remember who the customer was. They're dealing with that fresh inquiry that's coming in, okay? And the fresh one's always the ones at the front of their mind. So Darren wrote this email that you can just blanket email this to anyone. If it's a new inquiry, a used inquiry, if the car's sold, or if it hasn't sold, if more stocks come in or not, just to see if someone is live, okay? At something like this. Again, drop us a message, get in contact with me. I promise you, this will make you money, okay? Personalize this and thank the customer for the inquiry. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Casey. Hey, can I just ask a favor? He starts with that. Can I ask a favor? Would you do me a favor? It's such a powerful phrase. Sometimes people say yes without even knowing what it is. Hey, try this one. Say to your friends, hey, listen, would you do me a favor? Yeah, what's that? Show me some naked photos of your missus. They say yes without even knowing what it is. I'm only joking. Give me all your money out of your bank account. It could be anything, okay? So he starts with, would you do me a favor? Naturally, we as humans, we want to go, yes. We want to help people, okay? So can I ask a favor? You inquired about the car that we had in stock a few weeks ago. I just want to check to see if you're still in the market for a new vehicle. Now, that particular car has now been secured. However, we've had new stock allocated, some of which might match your requirements. These vehicles may not have even been featured on the internet yet. I just want to see if you're still in the market for a car. Hey, could you let me know of any update in your situation? And guys, with that one, the amount of times you'll get people saying, oh, yeah, funny enough, thank you for that. We were looking for a Sportage, but we just decided it's a little bit too big now. So we think we're looking at a Picanto. And you get this, you go, what? They're looking at a Sportage. They're now looking for a Picanto. Now, clearly I exaggerate that one, but the point is, maybe when you got the first inquiry, they were still in fantasy land. Maybe they didn't realize that we can't knock off the £2,000 and £3,000 of a car that they used to get 15 years ago, because those margins just aren't in the cars anymore. So that sweep up email might be a lovely way just to see if someone's still live. Okay, try it, see how you get on with that. Okay, now, next one. If they just say, hey, listen, can you tell me, is that car still available? You need some sort of engagement with these people. What do you say other than yes? Now, I know that you're all doing videos. If you're not doing videos now, you're not listening to this podcast, let's be honest, okay? Videos aren't the future. Videos are actually, goodness me, you're doing them, okay? And come and talk to us about how to do the video in the right way. In fact, how to make them look nice and professional, but get them turned around quickly still. Speed is of the importance with this, but still quality, okay? But if they just say, is the car available? Please don't just use the standard response you're getting on Image Console. Rather than a few photographs, I prepared a personal video. It's an opportunity for you to see the car in more detail. Don't do that, please, 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 okay? Something along the lines of, hey, thank you very much for inquiring that car. Hey, the good news, that car you inquired about has just come into stock and still available. I've just walked around the car and it's in great condition. I've taken the liberty of taking a video of the car, and that'll come through in a separate email. The reason why we do that like that now is because, number one, I want to get to my inquiry as short as I possibly can. It takes too long to go and do the video. If I go and do the video of the car, which I still want to do, a quality video I can't do in 3 minutes, 6 minutes, within 15 minutes. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say. I've just walked around the car. I've taken the liberty of taking the video of the car for you, and that will come through on a separate email. Now, all the cars have been approved by whatever your use program. Dasfeld Auto, if you're a Volkswagen dealer, part of Volkswagen's high standard used car program. Hey, listen, if you like an idea what your car's worth, though, please give me a call or let me have the registration number for it. I'll be happy to help. See, with that, we know that 89% of people in a franchise dealership have got a car to trade in. So actually, people might say, oh, okay, yeah, here's my registration number. Then you can go right back to the first email response. Now, the trouble with pricing the car without seeing it, it's going to be a guess. I might end up guessing too high, or I might guess too low. That's a way to deal with that. Now, the video, we haven't got time in this podcast to talk about how to do the video. But please make sure you start with yourself. Something people buy people. So many times people say, oh, I don't like starting with myself. Oh, I got a face for radio. So have I. Okay. But listen, start with yourself. Hi, Mr. Customer. I just wanted to personally introduce myself so you can put a face to the name. So you know who's working for you behind the computer. Because people buy people. Oh, and by the way, don't just tell people the car's come into stock if it hasn't just come into stock. People aren't silly, okay? They've been looking for a black Q5 S-Line for the last 6 weeks. If they've been looking at your car for the last 4 weeks and you say it's just come into stock, what might they think of you? Yeah, you're telling me a porky pie now. And if they think you're lying about that, you might be lying about everything. But actually, a lot of your inquiries on used cars are cars that have just come into stock, or they're cars that they've just been reduced. They're the two times you get lots of inquiries. Anyway, there's lots of other ones that we do on the course, okay? But clearly this podcast, I might have gone on too long already there. I hope you like the ideas. Again, get in contact with us, okay? And please, if you like some of these things, forward it on to your salespeople. This podcast and all the other podcasts, just forward it to your salespeople. Do a review for us as well. We really, really do appreciate that. But when you confirm the appointment, now I know you're going to send some sort of email to confirm the appointment. Make sure you do, but you might want to add something like this into it. Hey, thank you for your time on the phone today. This email confirms our appointment for Saturday, January the 12th at 11 o'clock. I'm sure the car you're looking at will be ready for us to take for a demonstration drive. Would you please bring your driver's license for insurance purposes? Now, again, it's not just insurance purposes. You might need their driver's license, but your business manager will definitely need their driver's license for finance purposes. But also to get the best price of your car. When you bring your car, now I love to add that in, and if you want a copy of these formats, okay, you'll notice how we put that in bold. So many people turn up without their car nowadays, okay? And why do they do that? Either something's wrong with it, it's really, really close to that big service and they don't want more miles put on it and it trips over into that big service, or they've set up a get out of jail free card. They know you can't do a deal because the car's not there. So nip that in the bud by saying, hey, when you bring your car, can you also bring the following? Your service history and any invoices you might have for the car. And if the next service is paid for, or do you have any prepaid servicing vouchers? Your NCT pass certificate, if required, or MOT or roadworthy, depending on what country you're in. Your spare keys, your registration book, tax book, vehicle license certificate, whatever that is, again, in the country you're listening to this. Your current finance settlement figure, stroke GFMV. Just assume they're in finance, because guess what? Most people are. And your paint and fabric protection certificate. Now, the next line is in red. If you get a copy of these formats, please bear in mind, they're not scripts. They're just a starting point, okay? We worked with one dealer group, which was quite cutthroat. They were nicking each other's deals. As salespeople were making an inquiry on that used vehicle, and the customer would turn up with their logbooks and their paint and fabric protection certificate and the keys and all that. They'd walk in and say, is John here? And the smart salespeople are saying, oh, I'm sorry, John's flipping hamburgers on the A14 at the moment. How can I help you? Because it was a short deal. So we come up with a line here that, listen, if you just ask for me when you come in, because what I'll do is I'll grab the keys to that car and pop it in my pocket just so one of the other salespeople don't take it for a drive while we're waiting. Now, don't actually put the keys in your pocket. Your dealer principal, your sales manager is going to go mad, okay? But it's just a reason for them to ask for you. And right at the end, I'd say, hey, listen, would you like me to send you the directions to the dealership? Well, actually, a little bit of a funny story on that. I come up with that line because I was lazy one day. When I was in a dealership with our clients that we work with on our training and consultancy programs, we'd normally write all these for the salespeople, make sure that sounds like them, so they're comfortable with it and they know the key points they're going to include in their formats. And what I'd always do is, with the directions of the dealerships, I would go and cut and paste from the dealer's website the directions where they are. But I was lazy one day or running late for an airplane or something like that. So I just come up with the line, hey, would you like me to send you the directions to the dealership? Guys, let me tell you, it works better. Because people say, oh, yes, thank you. I'm coming from out of town. Or no, thanks. I pass it every day on my way to work. Oh, really? Whereabouts you work? Okay. Oh, I work at the shop down on the road. It's just more engagement with the customer. Because what I want to do is make sure that my meet and greet and my qualification, so much of that is done now remotely before they turn up for the appointment. We're not going to start from scratch when they turn up. Hey guys, listen, you've probably listened to me harp on enough there, and I just gave you a flavor of some of the things we do on the Selling in the Online World training program. So if you're interested in that or anything else here, if you want to copy these formats, I'm going to get you to promise me don't use them word for word. I would hate you all just to cut and paste them. And by the way, who says I'm right? They're just a starting point of something on techniques that we've tried and used and we know are working in the dealerships. Might be a starting point for you to add to it and do some of the other unique things that you're doing, okay, and how you can deal with that remote customer. Anyway, that about does it for now. And thank you again for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time. That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, symcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.